right, cut the music, cut the music. This actually is going to be stage time for a friend of mine. And I think for those of you that have spent time with her already, you know she has an energy, she's got a fire, she's got a passion to her, and here's the reason why. Because she's a Spartan dog. So when you go to Michigan State University and you graduate, you're known as a Spartan dog. It's a small, tight little community. So Courtney Murray is a Michigan Stater, I'm a Michigan Stater, so a lot of that fire, passion, energy, we have a statement, we always say Spartans will. And one of the things that I love about Courtney Murray, she's been on TV shows, her books have been recognized, she's continuing to write more books, she's continuing to do more speaking, she's an incredible entrepreneur. Her and her husband Chris have grown businesses, they've been in the fight, they know what it takes. And so for Courtney to have the opportunity to spend time with you is a really special opportunity, because what I love about her and Chris and their story and what they've done is they've been through it. They've been through the ups and the downs. There's people who go into businesses, or people say, oh, I'd love to get in the financing of businesses, or how can I help people grow their businesses, or I have this banking background. They have a life background of growing businesses, helping business owners. They understand what it takes. They believe in other people to give them the opportunity to do what it takes. So my dear friend, Courtney Murray, the fellow Spartan dog, you guys better give her a Spartan dog welcome. Courtney Murray, it is your stage.
Thank you so much. It is such an honor to be here. I first walked into this room and I thought Ben Newman was giving away free puppies. There are so many people here, and I said, you know, this is such an integrity-ridden crowd. I first want to say thank you, Ben, for having me here today, and thank all of you for showing up for yourself. My first whenever I walk on, I always like to say, I will give you credit. And I think that's such a big move. Any time that you show up for yourself is a time that you should be proud of. And so I think everyone here today not only showed up for themselves, but for their companies, for their families, for their children, and I'll give you credit for that. I want you to all think back, how long did it take you to get yourself into a room like this? Did it take you years? Was it an overnight process? I know for me, it took me a lot longer than that. And so it's taken years for me to get into a room like this, and mostly here on this stage. But I will tell you that my journey has been a little crazy, and I want to give you guys just the full background so you know that I'm here to help you not make the mistakes that I made, so it doesn't take you as long to get on a stage like this. How many here, just by raise of hands, are athletes or past athletes? Awesome. So you all know what it feels like to rise. You all know how it feels like to be on a team, what it feels like to win, and also what it feels like to lose. How many are business owners? How many of you have ever woken up in the middle of the night wondering what happened to that contract? What happened to that client? What did I do wrong with this employee? I thought I gave it my all. And you've put your heart on the line, and everything just feels like it might crumble in that moment. And then how many of you are here just because this is a badass event? Yeah. That would be me. Well, I will give you credit for everything that anyone is here for. Just be proud of yourself that you've made it to this room, because there's some amazing speakers that have been on this stage. And I'm really excited to give you my story. Failure leads to success. I never in my life imagined that this would be 40 feet on two sides of Coca-Cola in the middle of New York City. I had no idea that when I wrote this chapter of this book, telling my life story, that this would end up here. And so I love to call my story Chaos to Capital. So when I was young, I started in about 7th grade. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I know a lot of you have commented on my shoes and things since I've been here, and I've always loved fashion. And so from a young age, I always said to my parents, I'm going to run a clothing store. I mean, this is from the time I was young. So in 7th grade, and some of you are way too young to know this, but in 7th grade, I signed up for shop class, thinking I was going to learn how to use credit cards. I had no idea it was woodworking. And so that was my first initiative to learn how to use credit cards and go shopping. And so this is, me trying to be an entrepreneur. I always knew that I had a lot of charisma and a lot of go. And I always wanted to make something of myself. And so shortly after college, I left and I had a business degree. And I decided to go sell cars in Georgia. I said, you know what? I know sales makes money, and money will buy me a clothing store. And so I sold cars. Then I sold heavy equipment. I sold heavy equipment for quite some time. I sold advertising. I also did door-to-door sales. How many of you here have ever done door-to-door sales? Now, the best thing ever, you see the no soliciting sign. You have to always get past that gatekeeper, right? I would say, I thought that said no smoking. I'm just going to come in and sit down. I can't even read the sign. But I would leave at the end of the day, and I always love, one of my employees always says, his father, he worked on a farm. His father always says, are you proud of yourself today? Are you proud of the work that you did? Every single day that I did door-to-door sales, I was proud of the work I did. It was hard, but it taught me perseverance. It taught me grit. It taught me ambition. And it taught me a lot about myself because it taught me to believe. And so that position took me out. I did so many different things. I'm not going to get into every single one of them. But I was in subprime mortgage. I don't know how many of you are in the mortgage industry. I think a few of you. I was in subprime mortgage out in California before the crash. And I was walking to see some of my broker's offices. And I ran into this clothing store. And it was called the Cuckoo Caterpillar. And she was super pregnant, and she said, I'm ready to sell this store. I said, I'll buy it. I'm 20. I have no money. I mean, I have sales money, but not really money. And I have no knowledge of credit or anything really because I'm 20. I have a credit card that's like $300. And my father was a corporate litigating attorney, and my mother stayed home, and they've always taught me cash is king. You borrow from the bank. If you want anything, you pay cash for it. So I thought I have enough money, change in my pocket to rub together. I'm going to buy this store. Well, I had no idea how to run a boutique. I didn't know where to shop, and nor did I know how to run the cash register. But I knew how to make people look beautiful. So I'm going to make this work. I'm an entrepreneur. So when I started in the store, I called it Chaos. That's my chaos to capital. And it was chaos with a K. And I paid for the sign outside, paid for my cash register. And I opened up with the merchandise she had there, but I had no idea where to shop. So I went to TJ Maxx and started marking things up and calling it one of a kind. This is my beginning stages of entrepreneurship. I'm going to make it work. I'm a sole proprietor. I am going to do this. My father told me, you're a sole proprietorship, file a Schedule C. That's all I know. He gave me some accounting software that I had no idea how to use. And so I started, and the store actually became pretty prosperous. I mean, I was doing well. I finally found out where to shop. I got a 30, 60, 90 term with a Canadian vendor that brought in clothing. But I was in California at the time, and so I know a lot of you probably have seen the wildfires out in California. And I was in Carlsbad, and about 3 years in, the wildfires were really crazy. And my shop was an old surf shop, so the guy used to shape surfboards in there, and it had, I used to say the termites were holding hands if one let go, it was caving. This place was so old. But it definitely it was not an insurable place. And I had used all my cash. Every time I would make money, I would use cash to buy more clothing. And I really didn't understand the concept of credit. I didn't understand the concept of write-offs and the concept of things like that. So that third year in, the fires came down, and they didn't come all the way to Carlsbad, but the smoke did. And the smoke defined my moment. So the smoke came in under the doors, all the high-end clothes that I had paid cash for, all the fashion shows, everything that I had, the smoke came in and it literally ruined and destroyed every single thing in my store. And at that moment, I realized that I am going to have to close because there's no way to get out of this. I had too much pride to ask my parents for additional money to help me. I didn't know that, there was, again, business credit out there that we could figure out how to utilize to create some sort of wealth or stability. And so the day I closed that store, I remember having creditors starting to call me. And this is a very personal story, and I'm telling you all this so you understand where I am coming from before I start teaching you. So when this happened, all of my credit was destroyed. Not only and it was my personal credit because I had not had or built or established business credit. And so as this credit is destroyed, I also didn't know the state of California would charge me sales tax for all the clothing that I didn't sell that would be destroyed. So as I'm driving one day to go get gas, my account was levied. My account was levied by the state of California. I couldn't get gas in my car. And I broke down that day and I started crying. And I'll never forget that moment because at that time I had, I didn't even have credit established, but my score drained down into the 500s. I'm 20 years old. How am I going to establish myself with this credit score? I always had a nice pair of shoes. I always had the ability to pick myself back up, but once my account got levied, I had no idea what I was going to do. So there's a girl that walked into my life, and it was really a funny situation. I went to a bar, as you do, at 21 years old at the time. I think I was 21. Hope I was 21. And I remember sitting there, and she said, "You need to take your problems, and you need to write them down on a piece of paper, and you need to put them in your glove compartment of your car, and put them away. And when you're ready to tackle them one at a time." And so that woman changed my life. That was my first just bout of mentorship. Not, "You failed, I can't believe you did this, you need to move back home," from my parents. They were pretty strict. They wanted me to move back home. I didn't want to do any of those things. And so, I started writing my problems down. One is I have to clear up my credit. So I started writing letters to the credit bureau. Let me tell you how fun that was. That took probably 2 full years to write letters to every single credit bureau. I started understanding the algorithm, what they would do to take your negative trade lines off. And then I started to tackle the tax implications that I had put on myself. And I knew the only thing I can do is go back into sales. And so one by one, this letter that I written myself, all of the lines I started checking off. And I thought, wow, when you find solutions to problems, they actually become, they don't even become a problem anymore. They become an education pattern for something that you won't do in your future. And I think that that's something that every single person in this room and every speaker has given to you so far, and to me as well. It's validation that problems are there, but there are people who can help you and listen as you're going through them. So there was a girl that used to shop in my store, and she said, "I'm from Michigan. Why don't you come and work with my company?" And I thought, what do you do? She said, "Well, we finance heavy equipment. We finance equipment." And I thought, I don't know anything about that, but I can sell anything, so I'm going to take the chance. So I went over and I applied and got the position. And my brother said to me, he lent me $3,000, and he said, "The only thing I want you to know in your life," and he's my younger brother, he said, "I don't want you to overpromise and underdeliver. So I will lend you this money, but do not tell me you're going to pay it back until you can." And I knew I am going to make this money back. But something changed in me when I took this position, and little did I know it would become the passion for the rest of my life. I didn't know anything about business credit. I still wanted to be an entrepreneur. But I'm telling you one thing, when I learned that there was a difference on equipment financing, business financing, SBA loans, lines of credit, different filings, things that you can do to not give away equity, I started reading every single day. How can I get better at this? How can I do something to change the lives of others? So Chris and I, my husband's here in the crowd. Chris, raise your hand. Yes. This is his first event, by the way, that I'm up here. I'm so happy he's here. But my credit vision, so as I started in this company and started absolutely loving what I was doing, I decided, again, I'm going to become an entrepreneur. I'm going to go back out on my own. And so in 2007, I took off and I started teaching the education of equipment finance. And I ended up meeting my husband in Boston. I moved to Boston to teach this course. And our journey has been awesome. So I opened in 2007, met Chris in 2008. In 2010, we reopened and rebranded because the 2008 economy crashed. I won't tell you all about that, but that happened. But in 2010, we reopened Coastal Capital, and we've never looked back. During COVID, though, I will say, we saw the crash of the economy again. We started seeing these things happen. And during COVID, Chris had a couple things happen. He fell off our boat. He had to have 5 surgeries. He almost lost his leg. Businesses were closing everywhere. We do everything from servicing heavy equipment to food truck financing to salon. I mean, it doesn't matter. If you have a business, we do the financing in the business. And so we started seeing the crash of the people around us. And this is when my vision changed once again. I said, Chris, look at all these places closing. We don't know what our banks are going to do. Our algorithm for our banks and equipment credit and financing, that was built in the 50s. They're declining, everyone, because they're in a place of, shutdown. So Chris and I took every single penny that we had in COVID, that we had saved, and we started putting it into the people because we believed in a vision. So our Coastal Capital vision and our mission right now is to help every single woman entrepreneur out there, because women only get 3% of financing. Anywhere, it's a statistic. Women are only getting 3% of the money that's out there. So that's number 1 for me. Number 2, we want to put $100 million into the pockets of people with a mission and a vision. We're changing the algorithm right now. We want to believe in people instead of a credit score, because people have things that happen to them in life. And so our vision and our mission is to change the way we look at credit underwriting. And so our company right now is in the middle of a capital raise, which is going to put $100 million into the people in the next few years. So that's pretty amazing. So I wanted to really tell you my story first so you understood where I'm coming from. This is not something that I just got into and want to teach you. This is my passion. I love it. I absolutely love financing. I know it's such an exciting subject to talk about, but for me it is. Any entrepreneur it is. Because the thing is, there are all sorts of different kinds of money out there. There's money everywhere. There's people who want to give you money for equity in your business. Like I said, there's bank financing that's right for some things. There's lines of credit that are right for some things. SBA that are right for some things. But how many of you actually know the differences of each of them? How many of you actually know what type of blanket filings are on them? What type of assets they're securing? So also with entrepreneurs, we always like those nice, shiny things. But is that nice, shiny thing going to make you more money than an asset that might be a little bit older? Cash flow is king in the business. So we're going to talk about creating wealth. And there's quite a few topics we can talk about. My favorite one to always start with is, would any of you here who have employees ever pay an employee cash for the year ahead before they started working or generating income for you? Okay. So how many people here have paid cash for an asset and then wonder why you did that? Anybody? I know I have. So why not pay over time as you can afford the asset as it generates revenue? So creating wealth means a lot of different things for me. I know a lot of you here are educated about financing. I know I talked to some of you about Section 179 yesterday. I can't see out here, but a couple was in here. We were talking about the tax implications and benefits. But when you actually look at the bottom line and where you need to cash flow and emergency funds, and the asset is going to produce income, there's different kinds of way to finance. Bank financing, a lot of times, unless you have established bank relationship, a blanket lien will be filed with the asset and your business. So if you don't have a upholding relationship with your bank, you will have, let's say they offer you 5% for a $300,000 piece of equipment over 60 months. The bank is really good at financing money. They understand money. But what an advocate can create, someone else, maybe alternative financing, equipment financing, if you're looking at equipment itself, that knowledge is so important because sometimes you're only needing an asset for 3 years, not for 6. Why would you finance it for 6 or 5? You only need it for 3 years. So don't you want to upgrade that equipment or maybe turn it in for something different? Have 100% financing for something that you can afford. So there's advocates out there that can help you with those type of things. But another thing I wanted to talk about with that is that when you go to a bank, they might offer you a percentage that might be tied to your personal credit. If you have business credit and personal credit, that's the one thing I did not have when I had a clothing store. So you don't have to tie yourself personally. There are a lot of properties out there that will go, a lot of companies out there that will not tie your personal credit to your business credit. So you don't have to personally sign for it. That way you don't affect your debt to income ratio. Let's say you're going to go buy a property. You're going to refinance your house. You want to buy a personal truck. And if you're in business, you should be putting your assets under your business anyhow because they become a tax incentive. How many of you know what Section 179 or bonus depreciation is? Woo! Everybody ready to go shopping? It's end of year. I mean, we have a couple months left. This is the time. But bonus depreciation is great if you're a profitable business because it allows you, let's say you have a project coming up and you need a piece of equipment for January. But the prices are going to go up in January. You don't really want to pay for this asset this year. So you can actually finance that asset this year. You can take 100% tax deduction up to $1.1 million is what the allowance is this year. You can take it this year as your Section 179 allowance. You can have a deferred payment on that, so you don't have to make a payment until you actually need to utilize that asset next year. This does not just go with asset-based businesses, though. This is also service-based businesses. So I'm in a service-based business. We don't have a lot of assets. So what do we do for end of year? One of the things I can say, and I know people are really interest rate driven, there's a reason, there's a risk factor with different types of rates. But with short-term bridge loans, lines of credit, anything that has a calculated interest on it, that is tax deductible. That is not you do not have to personally guarantee that. So creating wealth can come from a lot of different ways. Protecting yourself with an LLC. How many of you own LLCs that own properties that you lease back to yourself? Quite a few, I'm sure. Your accountant, your attorneys tell you to do this. You create an LLC that buys the property, you lease it back to yourself. And I'm not a CPA, but I will tell you I'm definitely taking initiative on that Augusta rule this year. Anyone know what that is? Yeah. You can actually rent your home to your business for 2 weeks and pay yourself. And that's 100% tax deduction. It's called the Augusta rule. Write it down if you're a business owner. Rent your house to yourself or your company for 2 full weeks, 14 days. You just have to have it documented properly. So there's all sorts of different ways that you guys can go ahead and create wealth. Chris and I are here for this whole conference. We want to be able to have private conversations with you guys. I could go into just teaching you anything about business finance for many, many hours, but I know that I don't have that here. So we want to make sure that you know that we're available for those things. I know a lot of you here are business owners. To scale in a business, another thing that we do to create wealth is there's a lot of manufacturers and vendors here as well. So because I did sell equipment and I did sell financing during 2 economic collapses, basically, I really, really want to educate and arm sales teams with the right tools to move the product. So during COVID, there was no equipment. All of our clients wanted equipment. Guess where we paid? We paid Canada for equipment. That was strange for us. We've never paid Canada for equipment, so we had to figure out how to do it. But we also figured out how to help our vendors and manufacturers rent out equipment and then move that rental into a purchase when the new equipment came in. So we can get innovative with things like that. So can other advocates in this industry. So just reaching out and getting the knowledge is going to help. Arming sales teams, teaching sales teams on how to overcome rate objections. You know, the assets themselves and the risk of the client, it's not always a credit score. They want to look at your depth of your credit. They want to look at your installment balances. So if you're trying to personally guarantee something, they're only going to give you money for what your installment balances look like. So there's a lot of tools that we can play with in a business. Again, I'm not a CPA. I don't want you to take any of this without talking with your CPA, but there are a lot of things that you can do for depreciation. There are a lot of tax incentives. There's a lot of interest you can write off. There's also a true lease rental contract. It looks like a rental contract. It used to be 100% tax deductible. Now they've changed it. So they changed the rules of FASB 13. But there are still things that you can do to really, you know, I don't know if it's completely off balance sheet anymore. I will do the research if any of you have the question, but it used to be completely off balance sheet, written exactly like a rental. A lot of you know this. For those that don't, I put up here just Business Credit Made Easy, a couple simple steps. Register for an EIN. You can open up any sort of line of credit through that once you have your EIN established. Open up a phone bill, open up your electricity bill, do some self-reporting on there. And there are different types of terms that you can put under. There's 30, 60, 90s, there's installment loans, there's bank loans. Open an LLC, an incorporation. Unless you're doing something as a hobby, I don't suggest, just by my own experience, to be a sole proprietorship. But if you are working on a hobby and have another position, then that might work for you. Tax implications become quite a bit more. And with this type of financing, alternative lending, you just need an application and a story up to $500,000. So anyone who's looking to start a business or expand their business, it's not as hard as it looks. It's not like applying for the SBA, where they take your firstborn and all of your assets and tie it into a big package lien. It's actually a lot easier than that. And people can help you with the growth and what you qualify for, and then help you scale. I know I'm going to give my husband props again. He talks with our clients. We have the most amazing ability to speak with hundreds of entrepreneurs every day. Everyone from starting a business to $30 million companies who have hit a wall and they're looking to scale and they need to borrow money. Maybe they're going overseas. So we get to speak with somebody every single day, but my husband is so great as an advocate to help manage where we can bridge the gap. And so there's a lot of knowledge out there if you haven't already jumped in to find it yourself. Don't mingle your personal credit with business. Has anyone else besides me in this room done that? All right, so there's a few of us, right? No one teaches you that in school. So I am putting together right now an accredited course that is going to go in the colleges to help young kids and business business graduates understand what business financing is. And I've created a tool. It will be a gift at the end. It's a resource center, but we are putting it in 3 colleges by the end of the year. So super excited about that. Pardon? Michigan State? No, we're going out west. It's where we're starting because it was available, but hopefully it will be in all sorts of different colleges at that point. So these are just the tools, just if a simple start. I know a lot of you know that. Branding with other people's money. I have a story here. So we have a $20 million client, a repeat client of ours, multiple years. And they called the other day and they said, we just bought a new building. It was 15 miles away from the building we had. And our revenue dropped to 8 million because no one knows we're there. And they ran their cash dry because they bought the building cash. I don't disagree with what they did. They had the money, they're generating the revenue. They didn't ever foresee their business dropping because they didn't brand. You have to let your clients know you're going there. Let your clients know you moved. 15 miles might not seem like a lot, but if your clients don't know, you use the money, use somebody else's money and have a grand opening, a new grand opening. Tell them that you have a new location. We have other clients that they'll buy a huge asset, they'll pay cash, and they'll come back and say, we bought this big, shiny, beautiful thing, but we don't have any money to market it. Other people's money. They're smart other people's money. You don't have to put yourself in debt. There are people who can help you walk through scaling the business. Branding with OPM. I love it. I did it myself. I've done a lot of things on NASDAQ. We love to help our clients with branding and things like that as well. So we kind of opened up that chapter and so started funding on some non-tangible items, such as book authors, which I know there's a lot in this room. We started funding on branding and things like that. So that's really important when you're scaling your business. Branding, I don't think anyone here doesn't know what kind of pants Jake from State Farm was wearing, right? That's good branding. Brand currency. Brand currency is really important, but it doesn't come from paying for it. Brand currency starts with collaboration. And so I want all of you to just take a minute, and even on a piece of paper in your head, it doesn't have to be out loud, but I want you to just do a quick measurement of your wealth's health from 1 to 10. Where are you at? If you're 5 or below, everyone in this room is where you're going to build your business. Everyone here that Ben has built in this room is going to help you scale. Do you need money? Do you need better conversations? Do you want to write a book and tell your story and help other people? What do you want to do? Because every single person in this room is going to help you with your branding. This branding started for me. I wrote a chapter of a book, like I said earlier. And I had a lot of pain from losing my father, and my best friend died of breast cancer, all within, and there was a lot more that came along with that. So I hid behind the screen for a while. And then I realized I had something to say. And all of this branding, everything up here, that came from other people. That came from me collaborating with other people, me telling them what I had, how I could help other people. Every single one of you here that I've spoken with has so many gifts. I'm an empath. I took everything in yesterday and I had so much energy I couldn't sleep till 2:30 a.m. thinking, look at the talent in this room. It's absolutely epic. Branding comes from collaboration. Collaboration is the new currency. It's my favorite saying. So the woman on this photo, Pinky Cole, she owns the Slutty Vegan. She went from a $1,400 dorm room idea to a $400 million valuation in 4 years. She financed and utilized all of our knowledge. We financed every one of her food trucks. We helped her with her growth. Each of one of her franchises costs $860,000 to open. The bank said no. Why did the bank say no? Because they said she's scaling too fast. Guess what? She just opened in the Braves Stadium. Have you guys been there? Where else did she just open, Chris? There was a second location. Oh, the airport in Atlanta. Like, that's not busy. The Slutty Vegan, amazing. She's in Target. She's in every single place you could think of. She just came out with a book called I Hope You Fail. And I'm giving this entrepreneur a lot of credit because I will tell you, when I met her through financing, her and I hit it off, and she invited me to be on a show. I got to meet the caliber of people that she was working with, the caliber of people she was around. That's the caliber that's sitting here in this room. And so I want to leave you with a couple gifts. And one is obviously talk to the people next to you. Talk to the people in this room. Talk to Chris and myself. Talk to the other speakers who have been up here. We all want to help you. We started somewhere. My first time I ever got up on stage, I was crying. I was petrified to tell my story. And I had an 11-year-old girl grab my hands, and she told me it was okay. And this 11-year-old girl gave me the power to come up on the stage and realize I can help other people. Collaboration is your new currency. Once you start branding yourself, it's different. With our vision and the mission that we're going, we want to believe in people, not a credit score. We are changing the way people are looking at the algorithm. These things are happening because of collaboration. So utilize what you have here in this room. And I want to leave you with 3 gifts. First, I want all of you to just pick up your phone and text to 21,000 Coastal. It's a free copy of my resource center. It's called the Credit Companion. It's literally just something to get your knowledge of our business finance tools. It's something that if you're a vendor or a manufacturer or someone who sells or has a business or an office and you want to create something like this, we can help assist with that or create something for your sales team. But I also want you guys to have the free copy. If you guys believe in what our mission is, we do have an investor platform. It's aggressive. If you're interested, please go ahead and type the word investor. And also, if you're interested in financing, we have an application up here. I'll give you credit. I'm Courtney Murray. Thank you guys so much.